If you're over 30, you've probably asked yourself this question: how do I slow down the clock? And I don't mean with some kind of magic potion. I mean with real science. So today, we're going to dig into the research, find out what actually works for rejuvenation, and see how many years we can realistically roll back. Let's get right into it.
The whole anti-aging world can feel like a total minefield, right? So many promises. But look, today we're not just talking about feeling younger on the inside. We are asking a really specific question. What are the proven science-backed levers we can actually pull to measurably change how old we look to other people? That's what we're focused on.
So when it comes to what people notice first, it's your skin. And it's way deeper than just a few wrinkles. There was this one fascinating study. It found that women in their 50s who looked 5 years younger all had one thing in common: better blood flow in their skin. In fact, our skin condition is so powerful that another study found a 22-year-old was consistently seen as being 27, just based on her skin. It's really the #1 cue.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the actual telltale signs of aging. Then, we'll lay down the lifestyle foundation. After that, we'll cover skincare that really works, and then talk about fueling youth from the inside. And finally, we'll wrap it all up in a simple action plan you can use.
Okay, let's dive into section 1, the telltale signs of aging. We already know skin is the biggest piece of the puzzle, but what are people actually seeing? What are those little visual cues that make someone's brain add, or maybe even subtract, a few years from your age?
Well, it turns out our brains are processing this whole constellation of signals in a split second. Beyond just your skin, we're subconsciously checking out things like hair density, the condition of your teeth, your body composition, and even something as specific as the volume of your upper lip. All these things play a part, for sure, but your skin, it's still doing most of the heavy lifting. Which brings us perfectly to our next section, the lifestyle foundation. Seriously, before you even think about buying a single cream or supplement, you have to get these fundamentals right. These are the non-negotiables. They're the absolute bedrock of looking younger.
Okay, we all know smoking is bad for us, right? But here's exactly why it's so devastating for the way you look. The nicotine physically constricts all those tiny blood vessels in your skin. It literally chokes off the supply of oxygen and nutrients. It just starves the skin. This directly speeds up aging and just cripples its ability to repair itself. And that's only what it's doing to your face.
And hey, if you think, oh, it's just a few cigarettes a day, it's fine, you really need to think again. The data is shocking. Smoking just 1 to 4 cigarettes a day carries the same mortality risk as drinking, get this, 350 grams of pure alcohol a week. That is a massive amount. The bottom line is, when it comes to aging, there is just no safe level of smoking, period.
But on the flip side, we have what is probably the closest thing to a miracle cure we've got: exercise. Just look at this. If we set the mortality risk for an inactive smoker at a baseline of 1, well, an active person at a normal weight cuts that risk almost in half. But here's the really amazing part. Even a smoker who stays active slashes their risk significantly. Exercise is just this incredibly powerful antidote. It doesn't matter where you're starting from. All right, next up is body composition. And it turns out there's kind of this Goldilocks zone. If you have too much body fat, it can impair organ function and, you guessed it, that all-important skin circulation. But having too little can also make you look older, because that lack of volume can make wrinkles look deeper, giving you kind of a gaunt look. So for that sweet spot, balancing health and appearance, the research points to an optimal range of about 9 to 19% for men and 20 to 30% for women. So once that lifestyle foundation is rock solid, then we can move on to section 3. Skincare that actually works. It's time to cut through all the marketing hype and look at what you can put on your skin that has real, measurable, evidence-based effects. And the absolute star player in this category is a substance called tretinoin. Now, this isn't just some cosmetic ingredient you find anywhere. No, this is a powerful, FDA-approved medication. Doctors actually prescribe it as a first-line treatment for acne. And lucky for us, its anti-aging properties are just incredibly well documented. So how does this stuff work? Well, tretinoin actively protects the collagen in your skin. That's the protein that keeps it all firm and smooth. And the results? A visible reduction in sun damage and wrinkles. But because it's so powerful, it comes with some really important rules. You have to use it with a good moisturizer and daily sunscreen. And this is critical. It is absolutely not safe to use if you are pregnant.
Okay, we've covered what to put on our skin, so now let's talk about what we put in our bodies. Welcome to Section 4, Fueling Youth from Within. This is all about how diet and supplements can support everything else we're doing. Now, a lot of the basics are probably what you'd expect, right? Lots of fruits and vegetables, healthy fats from things like nuts and fish, but some really recent research is pointing to something fascinating: the power of fermented foods, things like kefir or fermented teas like oolong. These support a healthy gut, and that in turn helps regulate your immune system and your digestion. These are key processes that really help slow down aging from the inside out. And when we get into the world of supplements, there is one name that really stands out based on the research: collagen. It's honestly one of the best tools we have for improving not just your skin, but the health of your joints and ligaments too. But, and this is important, it is not an overnight fix. Not at all. The research is really clear on this. To see actual, measurable improvements in your skin, you've got to be consistent for about 90 days. So yeah, it's definitely a long-term strategy. So what's the dose that actually works? Well, the key studies that showed real benefits used a daily dose of 10 grams of hydrolyzed collagen. That just means it's been broken down so your body can absorb it more easily. That's the specific science-backed number you want to look for. All right, we've covered a ton of ground. So for our final section, let's pull all these pieces together into one simple, actionable blueprint. This is your anti-aging action plan. But hey, before we lay out that final blueprint, I've got one more powerful tool for you. There was this amazing study that showed just 20 weeks of specific facial exercises, the kind that improve blood flow and tone the muscles, can reduce how old people think you are by nearly 3 years. It's just another piece of proof for the power of circulation. So here it is, the complete biohacking blueprint, putting everything together. Step 1. You build that non-negotiable foundation with a healthy lifestyle. Step 2. On top of that, you add the proven creams like tretinoin and, of course, sunscreen. Step 3, you support all of that from the inside with key supplements like collagen. And finally, step 4, you can add in those extra touches, like facial exercises for targeted results. See how each step builds on the last? It's a complete, science-backed approach. This whole blueprint is designed to work together, but any big journey always starts with just one step. So my question for you is, what's yours? Looking at this plan, what's the one thing you feel you could start today? Because really, the most powerful step you can take is always the next one. Thanks for joining me.